Vivit, and welcome to Unleash Your Web Skills on Native. I want to first start with something I call the web developer mood coaster. If you're a web developer, you're probably in a state of mind and you're confident, and this is probably you.
Everything's gonna be all right now. I got this. You wanted to know who I am?
What the hell are you talking about?
You'll see!
Yeah, fearless, because you know your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript, probably know some SAS also, and Node Package Manager, so no problem. But when I first started to do some native development, and I'm a web developer by heart, this was my experience. Yeah. What am I doing here? Because app stores, provisioning files, Java, Objective-C, anyone knows those languages? Ah, you poor thing. Sorry for you. But for me, there was a solution called NativeScript. And if you use NativeScript, you probably, or you might feel like this. You have the power now because, okay, app stores, provisioning files, you still have to do that. It's something you have to learn. You have to learn a little bit of NativeScript, but that's just a little sugar on top of things you already know, like, as I mentioned, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can still use SAS and, of course, still use Node Package Manager. So in the end, you might even going to love it like I do. Who am I? I was introduced already a little bit, but let me do it myself again. I'm Rowdy. You can find me on Twitter on this handle. I'm from Gouda, the Netherlands. If maybe you know Gouda from the cheese and the stroopwafels. You might know the Netherlands from the windmills and the tulips. But you can thank me later because also in the Netherlands Wi-Fi and Bluetooth were invented. So thank you very much, the Netherlands. And I also love superhero movies, but that was obvious already, right? As mentioned, I'm a freelance web and app developer. I also work for a big Dutch insurance company called Nationale Nederlanden. I'm the lead developer of the pension app, built with NativeScript. And I'm a progress developer expert in which I can come to a conference like this and talk to you about NativeScript and hopefully encourage you to get started with it. But NativeScript might not be the tool for you, or might not be the tool for your project. So let's do something called the Mobile App Framework Decision Guide. Let's start with a few questions. Do you want or need a native user interface and native performance? If the answer is no, you can go with PhoneGap or Cordova with Ionic. That will run, say, a web page inside a native wrapper, and it looks like it's native. But it can be very feasible for your project. Okay, you do want mobile, you do want native performance and look and feel. Does anybody have too much money and time? Big enterprises might. You can go full native. Thing is, you have to do twice the work. And from my experience, even if two developers, one Android and one iOS developer are sitting next to each other or from each other, they still do different things, unfortunately. So you have to coordinate a lot. So too much time and money. All right, next step. Do you potentially want or need to share code with a web application? Or plain and simple, do you want to use web technologies? Well, we're at a JavaScript conference, so probably want to use web technologies. But if you don't, you can go for something called Xamarin, but you have to know .NET or C#. Or Google's latest love child called Flutter. But you have to learn Dart for that. So let's assume it's yes. Do you want to use modern JavaScript like modules and ES6, 7, and 8? If it's not that important for you, there's a tool called Titanium. But there are some downsides because, for instance, you cannot use NPM, so you have to write everything yourself. If you want to go modern, do you know like React? I was sitting here at Nick's talk and I saw a lot of hands, people saying, yeah, I know React. If you know and like it, you could choose React Native for your projects. It will also generate native UIs and gives you native performance. But I don't know React. I don't know if I like it or not, but I don't know it, so I went for something different. This Supergirl, woman, or Superman, whatever you like, called NativeScript. So, let me tell you what NativeScript is. It's an open source framework, as I mentioned, for building truly native mobile apps. So, you will have truly native components on your screen and performance. You build it with JavaScript and markup that could be either XML or HTML and CSS. If you're brave enough, you can even use native code inside your JavaScript. And that's something I will show you later on in an example. It is cross-platform, so you develop once, and in about 95% of the time, you can use the code for iOS and Android. If you want to, you can make some little differences between it, either in styling or functionality, but most of the time it will do everything for you. More importantly also, it's backed by a big software company called Progress Software. That's been around since the 80s and doing a lot of making a lot of software development tools for developers like us. You can use it for Android 4.2 and later, and iOS 7 and later. All right, that's nice. But you might be thinking, well, get me up to speed a little bit. Well, I could tell you to install Homebrew, Node.js, and the CLI and stuff like that, and what kind of commands there are available. But I'm not going to do that because there's a great documentation website which explains everything from the beginning to the start, how to install it, how to use it. What I do want to mention is it's fairly easy to run simulators on your laptop. If you have a Mac laptop, you can run Android and iOS on there. And you can also hook up an external device to see how it works on that. And it has, when you change the code, it will change the situation in your device. So you can, like a website, develop very fast in that way. There's also a free NativeScript book. It's available on the website, and make sure to look into it if you want to start with it. My friend Alex is also running courses online. Some are free, some are paid, but they're really, really good quality. In the years, the ecosystem has become better and better with NativeScript, so they also have something called NativeScript Sidekick. You can run it on Windows and Mac, and it will give you starter templates, cloud building, and things like that. There is also, this is awesome, an online playground like JSBin, for instance. So you can, it's not really readable, I think, but you can put code in there, scan a QR code with your own mobile device, and the code will send to your device, and the app is running there. So when you're changing something online, you can see the result directly on your own mobile phone. So in this case, they were adding a button, and you can see some console logs in there. If you even have more questions, you go to the forum, or there's even a Slack group. So a lot of stuff online to learn. But let's dive deeper into the components we want to use. Sorry for the maybe crappy jokes, but markup like on the web. This is how it looks. It might look a lot now, but there's an action bar on top with a title, and there is a layout. I will explain later what layouts are, with a button, a switch, a segmented bar, a progress bar, a slide, and a date picker in it. This is similar like HTML, right? If you do this and run it on a simulator or on the playground, you get this. On the left side, you have Android. On the right side, you have iOS. I've put some decision list or action lists in there if you hit the button. But out of the box, you get this with a default styling of the device. Let's dive a little bit deeper in one of those types. So it's the text field. As I said, I work for an insurance company. We have a pension app where people put their information in, so we can do calculations and predictions. So a text field is pretty necessary. You define it like this, and you, like on the web, you can use a placeholder. In this case, it's called hint, and it will be inside the text field. You can actually compare it with an input type text. It has a lot more attributes to it, like auto-capitalization type. Maybe you want everything uppercase or just the sentences. I like this one, none, because if I have to enter my email address, for instance, I hate it when the first one is uppercase. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit picky in that. You also have autocorrect. We all love autocorrect, right? Well, I don't like it when I have to enter my name, for instance, because it's 9 out of 10 times it's butchered. So if you use false, then it works way better. Keyboard types. There are a number of keyboard types available, and they will trigger the software keyboard on your phone. So if you look in the next screens, again, left Android, right iOS. Depending on what type it is, like on the web with input type number or phone, for instance, you get the appropriate soft keyboard. And there's even more, way more than I describe here, but text alignment, visibility you probably use in combination with a Boolean. If somebody hits a button or enter a field and you want to show something else, you can use visibility. All right, layouts I mentioned, they're very important because without defining one layout, the app won't run. There are a few available. I'm not sure if you can read it, but the first one says stack layout. That means every component you're entering there will go from top to bottom. Simple as that. And if you set on the second one, you set attribute orientation to horizontal, it will go from left to right. We have the absolute layout, like on the web also. And a very nice one, the right one, the dock layout. That's pretty common in apps to use the dock layout because you have a static part in the top and in the bottom, and in between there everything happens. We also have the grid layout on the left, and that's pretty similar like a table on the web. Wrap layout will use the space available, and if there's not enough space anymore, it will go to the next line. Or if you set orientation to vertical, it goes from top to bottom, and then goes to the right. And the last one, also inherited from the web, is the flexbox layout. It's really powerful to use. And most of the times you will use different layouts together to get the end results. So zoom a little bit in on two. As mentioned, the popular dock layout. What I did here is the red one on top has a fixed height, just like the orange one on the bottom. And number 3, the blue one, has a fixed width. And because of the order I put them on in the dock layout, the last one, number 4, the green one, will take all the available space. And that's because you set stretch last child to true. That means 4 gets all the space available from top to bottom and from left to right. And the grid layout, as I mentioned, is like a table. So you can also see things like col span and row span. And importantly, if you look at rows and columns, the 100 means use 100 pixels. Auto means use whatever you need. So if you look at number 4, it's really small because that's all it needs. And the asterisk at the end means, well, just use whatever is left. So also you can play around with this to get your ideal layout. It's time to have fun with colors and styling. The second part of your web technology, cascading style sheets. Well, a large subset of CSS is supported. In my experience, everything you need is there. Exotic ones like that are not working in each browser are also not available for NativeScript. You have to keep in mind that the pixels are device independent. So it's up to the device to determine whether 100 pixels is, say, 1 centimeter wide or 1.5 centimeter wide. You don't have control on that. You can write CSS for the complete application in a file called app.css, or you can do certain things specific for a page, or even inline just for a specific component you want to style. And as I mentioned before, you can do different things for different platforms. So if you want to do something different for iOS, you can use a style sheet just for iOS. A few animations are supported, so you can make it a little bit more nice. And if you want to use Sass, you can do that. If you're not that experienced with CSS, you can use one of the 13 core themes that are available. They're ready to use. Some are nice, some are maybe less nice, but you can use it as a starting point. And if you want to go nuts, you go to nativescriptthemebuilder.com, and there you can style it on the web, and you can switch between iOS and Android, and you can style it there, and if you see what you like, you export it, and you can use it in your own app. So, I now know some HTML and CSS, and I already can build something very nice, in my opinion. You be the judge of that. I can use a tab view. And within that tab view, I have 3 items. I specified the titles as Rocket Raccoon, Harley Quinn, and the Hulk. And I wrote some CSS classes. If we look at the CSS, I said there's a class full that means, well, I need all the space and center it and don't repeat the image because I want a big image on the background. And the other classes just refer to a local JPEG file that's inside of the app. So with only this piece of code, you can do this. Left again Android, right again iOS. So you have a tab view where you can switch, and in this case, we're just showing images. But if you show this to a client, you already can send in the first bills probably for, I don't know, 5 minutes of work. Would be awesome, right? Okay, last part of the web technology. You have 4 fantastic choices. Yeah, sorry. The first one, good old plain JavaScript. You can use TypeScript. If you don't know what TypeScript is, it's a better way to make sure you don't screw up. Because you have more control of the types you're using. Believe me, I've been there trying to calculate string 5 and number 10 and saying, well, it's 510. Doesn't work that way. You can use Vue.js if you want to. And my personal favorite, you can use Angular. The thing is with Angular, you already have access to things like dependency injection and routing, so you don't have to write that yourself. You can just focus on the functionality you want in your app. All right. I'm damaged, so I told you you can use native code. In this case, I've used some Objective-C, and let's see how that turns out. It's a very simple example with use of Angular. So I have a few files here, HTML file with the screen layout, CSS for the styling, and the TypeScript file for the JavaScript. And I do need a routing and a module file, so the module is to encapsulate everything. So if I write this HTML, a stack layout with a slider, and I have some CSS saying, well, give me some 50 pixels of padding, because otherwise it's crammed to the sides. I write a little bit of TypeScript here, and this is boilerplate. The only thing you do is refer to the HTML file and refer to the CSS file, and you get something like this. And if you slide it, it looks like this. Well, exciting, right? Let's make it more fun. So you can use, in Angular, you can use this. I enter an attribute called slider icon, and that's an attribute directive. And with that, you can change the appearance or behavior of an element. So I'm going to refer to this slider icon. I have to write a new TypeScript file for that. It's called, in this case, the slider.directive.ts. And the things that are highlighted here is boilerplate. Only one important thing is that I refer to slider icon with a selector. If you look at this code, it says I'm importing is.iOS from the platform, so I can use it in an if statement later on. And I define a UI slider. And the way I'm defining it here, that is, I'm referring to that native element, and with the .ios, I get access to iOS code. You can also use .android if you want to do Android-specific stuff. So I'm referring to iOS in this element. And then I can use some Objective-C like setThumbImage for state. I don't know Objective-C at all, but a friendly friend of mine gave me this code and saying, well, with this code you can change the knob of the slider. So I use an image there instead of the boring knob there. You have to make sure that the directive is known to your component. So in this case, I also have to import it. And then you get something like this. You can use an image, and it makes it a lot nicer. But I cheated a little bit because I made it a lot more nicer. I like the drama with the lights. Cool. What I did here is I not only replaced the slider, but I also made sure that there's a background with Captain America in it. I will post the slides later on Twitter, so you can look it all up. But basically, what I'm doing here is that I'm hooking onto the value change event. So when you change the slider, I made sure Captain America is in the back, and its opacity is 0, so it's not visible. And I did some more stuff, making sure it's nicely aligned and the colors are correct. But the most important thing is that in the TypeScript file, I made sure that if you change the slider, the music will go play, and it will start at a low volume, and if you're at the end of the slider, it will be at full volume. And also the opacity is changed from 0, that's here, from 0 to full opacity. All right, that's all the native code I'm going to touch. Let's talk about packages and libraries. You can use Node Package Manager, and that's very nice. It's, as mentioned, commonly known as NPM. They're ready-to-use JavaScript modules There are about 650 packages now out there. I'm not saying they're all 650,000 good packages, so you have to pick the ones you like and test them out. But you can also use libraries that are available for Android and iOS, Android Arsenal and Cocoa Pods. And I'm talking about NativeScript plugins in a while, and most of the times they use these ready libraries that are out there already. I want to zoom into one NPM package we use a lot, and that's getting a multilingual app with NGX Translate. You can use it for Angular, and basically you have JSON files with the translations in there. It's easy to switch between them, and the big benefit is that you don't have hard-coded text on your buttons or whatever. So it's all in one place, and even if I build an app with one language, I still use it, because if I want to change maybe a button that said OK to fine, then I only have to do it on one place in my app and don't have to search and replace. So this is an example. This is a JSON file for the homepage of my app. It has a title, a little bit of text, and the other ones are buttons. This is the way you can incorporate it. It's one-way data binding in Angular, and with the pipe translate, you will have the transformation. And with the button, I can change from one language to the other. So this is how it looks like, the home page or home screen when it's in English. And if I hit Ukrainian here, it changes to Ukrainian. Well, Google Translate Ukrainian. I'm not sure if it's correct, but you'll be the judge of that. So it's fairly easy to make a multilingual app. All right, let's go to the most interesting part, NativeScript plugins. So what are plugins? Well, very easy. The NativeScript core modules provide a lot of stuff for you, but not everything. There are things you want to do that are beyond that. They're usually built for both iOS and Android. If you have a lazy plugin author, you might only do it for Android or iOS. And it gives you a JavaScript interface to native platform code. There are already a lot of NativeScript plugins available. If you go to market.nativescript.org, that's the marketplace of NativeScript, and you can search for plugins, and some are verified. That means they are reviewed by the core team of NativeScript. So I want to show you a few. I want to show you NativeScript Bluetooth, NativeScript accelerometer, NativeScript speech recognition, text-to-speech, directions, and video player. All right, this is NativeScript plugins live demo. I do some live, but not all, because I've been in trouble at other conferences that maybe internet connections are not working, so I've recorded them. The first one is with my little friend. This is Rowdy Rabouw, and I have him here. I will have him here. And this is the video. If I click on Rowdy Rabouw, I can go for scan, and that's what I'm doing also here on this device. And if it's found, I can use connect, and then use the controls. So it's on the screen here, but I also have it on my device, so I can control him. He's a little bit cheeky. I can take a sip of water and don't know how he will respond, but that's not very nice of him, but he can also do much more fun things, like changing the lights on his chest. And let's see if he wants to ride also. Come on, show these people what you can do. Yeah, okay. And if you see someone in the audience he likes, he starts winking at you. Is he? Yeah, I don't know if you can see it in the back, but he's winking. And with the controls, with the arrows, and I have to watch out for the stage, I can control him. So I can make him run a little bit like this, and go a little back, turn the other way, and go back again for safety. But that's not really fun, right? Hitting buttons. So I have the airplane mode. That means I control it with the accelerometer. So I can flip my phone like this. And it will command my movements. And let's see if he will wave the flag for you. He's very excited to be here, you see? Woo! And now I have to turn him off because if I drop my phone, he will run out of stage. Like that. So, that's the Bluetooth one. I can go a little bit in how we do that. The code here says, well, we start scanning for 4 seconds maximum, and we look at all Bluetooth devices that are around. Fortunately, I had my phone close to him, because in a room like this with all the mobile phones, it could take a while before I find him. But when we're scanning, I'm looking at the UUID, the unique number of him, and if I find it, I make sure I connect to it and stop scanning for other devices. And the accelerometer is fairly simple to use, actually. You start listening for updates, and if it goes to left or right, I get a position back, and forward and backwards I also get data back, and I can respond to that. In this case, make sure it goes turning or to the front or to the back. Okay, next one is speech recognition. You can build your own Siri or Google Assistant or how you want to call it. So let's see how this works. I press speech recognition, hit the record button and say something like, please introduce yourself.
Меня зовут Софья. Все здорово быть тут и прекраснодис. I hope my Ukrainian was good. Otherwise blame Google Translate. I will continue in English to be sure.
I'm not sure what she said, but I hope it wasn't offending to anybody. It was fine? Whew. Thank you, Google Translate. So I've been here now for 2 days. I arrived on Thursday. Beautiful weather, had some sunburn. But when you are on a holiday, I'm here to talk to you, but also kind of a holiday. You always want to know how the weather is in your hometown, right? Just to make fun of them. Before that, I forget to explain you the speech recognition. What I'm doing here is checking if speech recognition is available and then request permission to use it. The user will get pop-ups saying, well, okay, you can use my microphone. Okay, you can use speech recognition. And in this case, I'm saying I'm listening to US English, and the return partial results mean every word I'm saying, it will go to, if I'm on iOS, will go to the servers of Apple to figure out what I'm saying and return the result immediately. And if I hit stop listening, then it has all the words available that you saw on screen, and you can do something with that. I cheated a little bit because I predefined some words that have to give some action. So it's not really that intelligent yet. And the text-to-speech is even way simpler to use. You enter some text, you enter the locale, so in which language and which form of language you want to hear it. You set speak rate and pitch, so how high and how fast. And then you said speak, say it to me. So now I'm coming here saying, well, what's the weather like in my hometown Gouda? So I hit that button again and say, how is the weather in my hometown?
Weather in Gouda, the Netherlands, is clear, 13 degrees Celsius. The forecast is partly cloudy until this evening.
Well, I'm glad I'm here. I just looked on my phone. It said 31 degrees here. We're inside, so at lunchtime, it is almost there. Make sure to go out and enjoy it. I use the text-to-speech and the speech recognition here, but also something that Angular provides us, the HTTP client. And there's a website called darksky.net, which you can pass latitude and longitude to their API, and you get results back in which you can interact with it. So that's what I did here. Okay, next one. I like to do some sightseeing like a tourist.
You definitely visit the Potemkin stairs. I will show you the route.
It opens up Apple Maps with the route by car, but let's see what the walk is about. Almost 2 hours. I'm taking an Uber, that's for sure. NativeScript directions, I'm not sure if it's all readable, but what you do is if you don't define where you're from, it will take your current position, and you define an address that you want to go to. So in this case, Potemkin Stairs, Odessa. I put another one here, the one wall house, and it makes, if you're on Google Maps, it will make sure that it will give you a direction to both the addresses you want to go to. Apple Maps doesn't, unfortunately. And we're almost getting to an end. So, you know, I like superhero movies, right? There's one out now. I haven't seen yet, but maybe we can watch a movie trailer together. Can we watch a movie trailer?
Oh, you love superhero movies. Let's watch a part of the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie trailer together. Please rotate your device.
Okay, it's already rotated, but okay.
We unleashed something powerful.
Feel and chest, we got this together.
There is another person I can think of.
What's up? Maybe I'm doing it wrong. What's up? What's up?
You have no idea what I'm capable of.
She just wanted to give me a hug. Wish me luck.
Really? Watch this.
Sorry, I'm messing around.
Wish I had a suit. Even with like minimal powers. Or maybe even just a suit with no powers.
No.
No suit for you. And this is really easy to do. You import the NativeScript video player and just say, oh, run this video for me. In this case, it's on my device in the app, but you can also use a YouTube video for this. Have some extra attributes like controls, loop, and maybe autoplay. But it's really, really simple. So you might be feeling like this right now because lunchtime, right? So if you want to have more, if you want to know more, go to this URL. Don't go to it right away because I updated my slides this morning. I will make sure in lunchtime I will upload the new ones. And you have access to the slides and also to the code, so you can see what I'm doing there and experiment it with yourself. And with that, I would like to say, Diakuju.
Close enough.